What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to Just Ballin', and today we are going to be reacting to a Bleacher Report article that pretty much proposes one trade idea for every NBA team at this upcoming trade deadline. I'm very excited to get into this because I usually make videos where I talk about teams' trades, and it's pretty much me coming up with the idea, and I'm interested to see what Greg Swartz of Bleacher Report has for this, as we are very close to the trade deadline. We're about 10 days away. It's not this Thursday, it's the following Thursday. I forget, I think it's around 3 or 4 o'clock. Either way, I will be live streaming on the Soros channel. Very excited for that. And then I'll probably do a bunch of content still on this channel and the audio platform if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts regarding this as well. So yeah, we're going to go over all these trade ideas. It looks like it's going to be in alphabetical order. So we're going to start off with the Atlanta Hawks, and they are getting proposed Colin Sexton in exchange for Kobe Buffkin, Larry Nance Jr., a 2025 second round pick, which is via Minnesota, and a 2030 second round pick. Wow. That is a very good deal, I believe, for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know if Colin Sexton is the piece they need right now. Another smaller guard that you really can't play out there with Trae Young because they are going to get picked on defensively. Colin Sexton may be a worse defender than Trae Young. He's a very good shooter. He's a very good scorer in the half court, but I know you can run him out there with Reese Shea and Daniels and Jalen Johnson and Okongwu, and they can help them out defensively, but I don't think that's what Atlanta needs right now. I mean, if we go to Atlanta so far this season, they are going to be a fringe playoff team. They are currently 22-23. They're 9th in the East. They're ranked 17th defensively, 21st offensively, so they could be a team that looks to add offense. I don't think they do something like this. I think if they could maybe include Clint Capella instead of Larry Nance Jr., I would look into that. Okongwu's been playing pretty good as of late. I don't think Utah would do this. I like Kobe Buffkin still. I think he's intriguing because I really liked him at Michigan, and I originally thought that Atlanta was a bad spot for him to develop, but I just don't think the Utah Jazz would trade Colin Sexton for Buffkin, Larry Nance Jr. in 2 seconds. I like to think they would want to get a first-round pick, and I don't know how I love Sexton playing in Atlanta. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics going after Javonte Green. It's going to cost them Jaden Springer. So, yeah, Boston really can't do a lot. They either have max contracts or they basically have minimum contracts that they can move right now. I believe Sam Hauser, I don't know if he can get traded. I don't think so, just because he signed that extension with Boston. And Boston's dropped a couple games as of late. Like, that loss to the Lakers was surprising. I know it was a back-to-back with the Clippers, but that was a little shocking, honestly, the way, like, how flat they came out. And you could see, like, a lot of losses by a decent amount of points, like losing to Toronto by 13. Like I said, blown out by the Lakers. They ended up losing to Sacramento by 17. You lose to OKC by 13. Just something the Celtics didn't really do last year. They're still an elite team. They're still, I think, the favorite to get out of the Eastern Conference. I would take them over Cleveland today in a 7-game series. I'm not disagreeing with that, but man, I don't mind Javonte Green. He's a guy I think the Knicks could go after too, just because I think he can provide some good defense in like 10 to 14 minutes a night. And yeah, he's been a fine 3-point shooter this year. Is he still shooting that well from 3? I haven't seen Javonte Green's 3-point percentage in a little bit. It is at, just pulling it up real quick, 38% from 3 right now. Honestly, on 2-point attempts a night, I like his defense when I watch the Pelicans, so I don't mind that for Boston. For Jaden Springer, you might have to include some seconds in there because, like, I feel like somebody can either top that offer, and Jaden Springer is a solid defender, and maybe New Orleans can maybe give him a little bit more playing time. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets, who could definitely be active at the deadline, and oh, wow, I'm going to like this trade for them, I think. So this trade is going to propose the Nets receive Jarris Walker, Aaron Nesmith, Isaiah Jackson, a 2025 second-round pick, and a 2027 second-round pick for Cameron Johnson. I like this trade for the Nets a lot more than I do for the Pacers. I don't know if the Pacers, who I think could look to add some shooting, but honestly, like, Aaron Nesmith's coming back. He's an elite shooter in his role specifically. I know Cameron Johnson would provide a very nice offensive piece, and I think the Pacers, who at times like to push a ton, he could fit in really well next to Halliburton, and he's under contract for the next 3 years. I just think it's a little rich for Indiana. I think Indiana would probably prefer to part ways with a first-round pick instead of Walker and or Nesmith. They're fine with Isaiah Jackson. I know Miles Turner's come up kind of in recent trade ideas, but because he is a free agent at the end of the year, they're not moving him. We've done this same song and dance every deadline for the last, like, 6 years. I do like the idea of Indiana going for Cameron Johnson if it is going to be an Aaron Nesmith, like, upgrade. I just think Walker's a little bit rich, but I would like to see Jarris Walker in Brooklyn. I think Walker can be really good with more volume. Same with Aaron Nesmith as well. And they could probably build up Nesmith's value for him to get traded in the offseason for even more draft picks. Like, we're seeing Walker play around 17 minutes a night. It's just too inconsistent when he gets minutes. And I know there's sometimes like lack of defensive intensity, involvement in the offense, but I would like to see maybe Walker in a new team sooner than later. Charlotte, all right, interesting trade idea here. Isaiah Stewart, Tim Hardaway Jr., and a 2025 second via Toronto, so that could be a top 10 pick in the second round for Miles Bridges. I mean, I like this I think I like this for Charlotte a ton because I'm not the biggest Miles Bridges fan, and there's the Miles Bridges connection to the state of Michigan. I believe he's from there because I know he went to Michigan State, obviously. No, he's from, let's say, or he's born in Flint, Michigan. He went to high school, Huntington Prep in West Virginia, but he'd be going relatively back home. I mean, provides another offensive like option next to Cade, but there's not really a part of me that wants to take on Bridges, who's not a great defender. He's been a well below average shooter this year, and I think everybody in Charlotte, I'm not going to focus on their shooting too much because Miller, LaMelo, and I think Bridges all have the same issue where they're taking so many bad shots, like late in the shot clock, is everybody else is like too timid to really do anything with the ball in their hands. But I just don't want to pay Miles Bridges $25 million next year and $22.8 million the year after that. So if they could get off their contract, I would do that. I think Isaiah Stewart could be a good piece in Charlotte, but I think he provides a lot of energy to Detroit. I mean, I don't mind taking on Tim Hardaway Jr. in a second. Honestly, if you gave me Tim Hardaway Jr. in 2 seconds for Miles Bridges, I may do that as well if I'm Charlotte. But I know they need guys that can score the basketball. I don't know if that may feel like I don't know. I like Isaiah Stewart a ton. I think Isaiah Stewart's a better player than Bridges because I think I just value Stewart's defense, even his defensive upside in the playoffs. Next up, we got the Warriors. This one's the Bulls, though. They're trading for Nikola Vucevic. It's going to be sending Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton II, and Kevon Mooney. So it's basically just salary filler at that point. Honestly, if I'm Chicago, I'm not doing this trade. I'm not. What does Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton II, and Kevon Mooney do for you if you're Chicago? Because Vucevic is shooting still 40% from 3, 55% from the field, 20, 10, and 3 this year. And I think he's a very good option in Golden State's offense. But I would want like a protected first-round pick in return. I'm asking for their 2025 lottery protected first. They don't make the playoffs. I would want it to go to like top 12 protected next year, top 8. Then it can become 2 seconds. That's what I want. He's making, like, I know it's $20 million this year, $21 million next year, but if, like, I'm just not moving him for salary filler. I'm not. And I know this could provide more opportunities, but I think, if anything, Levine could go for salary filler because now we can have more opportunities for some of the younger wings. What center is Vucevic blocking right now? Like, I don't really care to see more Jalen Smith touches in Chicago. I think he's always going to be a good backup. Say they had, like, Khalil Ware on their team or Yves Missi, then, yeah, I could get behind this, but unless we're getting like 3 and 4 teams involved and there could be some seconds coming back, I just don't think it's worth it for Chicago to do this type of trade. Because like, what does Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton, and Kevon Mooney do on Chicago? Next up, we have Cleveland going after, Nick Richards. This did come out before he was traded, so I would like that addition. Dean Wade in a second, honestly, that could have been a good return for them. And I've always been, like, I did Dave Beatty for the Cavs in one of my recent trade videos that I talked about. And I thought that could have been an idea as well for them to go out and, like, that was a trade target for them because I think they could use a backup big man. I like the idea of the writer here coming up with that for the Cavs because I think, like, you look at their big man depth, they've lost some games as of late as well. They lost to Houston. They've lost to Philadelphia, which was they were 10.5 point favorites, I believe. And they lost to Houston twice, actually. But you look at their center depth right now on their roster. I mean, it's not great. It's like Tristan Thompson, George Niang, Dean Wade, JT Thor on a two-way as like the big man options because obviously Mobley and Allen could be a backup center, or more so Mobley could be a backup center if needed. But I think they need to add a third center. And they have a lot of wings. I would be willing to move Dean Wade or one of them. And I know Dean Wade can provide some valuable defense. Dallas is to go after Jimmy Butler. Okay. I believe this is before Derek Lively got hurt. But yeah, we're going to be trading PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, Daniel Gafford, Maxi Kleba, a unprotected 2025 first, and a 2031 unprotected first. Oh my God, I hate that. Oh my God, I hate that for Dallas so much. I mean, this is the home run trade for Miami. Dallas is basically gutting their depth to have a Kyrie, Luka, Clay, Derek Lively, and Jimmy Butler starting 5. I would rather trade Klay Thompson than PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, and Daniel Gafford. And I know Daniel Gafford could be in this trade, but trading PJ and Najee and 2 unprotected first, 1 in 2031 for Jimmy Butler, who's 35. I don't know. I know the West is kind of wide open, and it does make them dangerous, but I am not a big fan of this trade for the Dallas Mavericks. I think that's kind of rich. PJ, Marshall, and Gafford, and 2 unprotected first. Klebo would be in this deal as well. I mean, I think that'd be a home run trade for Miami. Oh my God. I know Gafford would probably get rerouted, but PJ Washington, Kel'el Ware, that's an athletic front court at times, and then obviously Bam in the mix. Denver going after Kyle Kuzma, Jonas Valanciunas, and Sadiq Bey for Michael Porter Jr. and Zeke Naji. Now, you get off the Zeke Naji contract, but, I mean, Kuzma and Sadiq Bey could probably be valuable pieces around Jokic if Kuzma wants to, like, buy in. But what type of Kuzma are we getting? Are we getting, like, the Kuzma that was actually a good role player on those 2020 Lakers or the 2021 Lakers? But, like, he's only had 2 seasons of his career shooting above 36% from three. He hasn't shot above 36% from three since 2021. I don't know if I mean, like, Kuzma may get a lot better looks in Denver 100% now that he's, like, the 4th most important guy and everybody's focused on Jokic. I just don't know if I like this trade for Denver. I think I'd rather try to get, like, Zach LaVine or Jimmy Butler than Kuzma, Valanciunas, and Sadiq Bey. I actually kind of like this trade for Washington in a way. Detroit going after Brandon Ingram. I like this. I think they should. Isaiah Stewart, Tim Hardaway Jr. in a second. Now, I tweeted when they were like the 6th seed that they should go after Ingram, CJ McCollum, LaVine. And a lot of Pistons fans in the replies were like, Matt, or I don't even know if they knew who I was. They were just like, dude, why? Like, we're finally the 6th seed. Let's not give up future assets just to make a short-sighted move. While I do get that, the guys that I mentioned should be going for a lot less than what they're worth. Zach LaVine is a really good player. He's under contract. You're not a big market team. And I don't know if it's going to cost you a valuable first or a young piece for Zach LaVine. Like, it may cost you Isaiah Stewart. And I'd be willing to do that because or Marcus Sasser. Like, you don't have to move Holland. You're not moving Asor. You're not moving Jaden Ivey. And you're probably not going to have to move Jalen Duren. I would do that for Detroit. I would. McCollum shouldn't cost a lot. Ingram may cost a little bit more. But if this is the package, Isaiah Stewart, Tim Hardaway Jr. in a second, I would do that in a heartbeat. If you can commit long-term money to Brandon Ingram, I'm okay with that because I think he could be a number 2. He's a good playmaker, and Cade could be the number 1, I think, on a title team. I do think Cade has the potential. He needs to cut down on the turnovers, and I think somebody like Ingram, LaVine, or McCollum could help him out a ton. So I do agree with this trade here. Golden State, okay. We got LeBron going to Golden State. We got the Lakers getting Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton, and a top 5 protected pick in 2020, like a 2025 top 5 protected first. My head's kind of shaking, or I don't know. Do we even get there financially? I guess so, because it's a 4 for 1. You know what's funny? This is actually a good trade for the Lakers. If you're getting Kuminga, Wiggins, Payton, and a first for somebody that's going to retire this year or next year, I think that's worth it. I don't think the Lakers are going to win a title this year. They can't get Jimmy financially. They can't really, like, they can get Walker Kessler, but I don't even know if that helps them win it all this year. I know AD's great. I know that, like, Dorian Finney-Smith is good, but this trade is hurting my head. LeBron and Golden State. I don't even know. This would be, I think, a bad idea for Golden State. LeBron, Steph, Draymond. I mean, you'd have Pods. You'd have Trey Jackson Davis out there together. I mean, the Lakers aren't trading LeBron. Houston going after De'Aaron Fox. All right, that's a big one. I think if Fox was going to get traded, it would be at the end of the season, in the offseason. I don't even know if, like, you would have to trade him in the offseason or it'd be at the deadline next year, but I feel like he's just such a big name. It'd be in the offseason. This is Fox and Kevin Huerter going to Houston. Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, 2025 first, top 5 protected, 2027 unprotected, Suns pick going to Houston, or excuse me, going to Sacramento. I mean, I think if I'm Sacramento, I'm calling for Amen Thompson first. Like, I'd rather have Amen Thompson than Shepherd and Cam Whitmore, and maybe even the 2025 first. So, like, they're probably going to hang up. I feel like for Houston, Amen Thompson's untouchable in a Fox trade, and they may just be like, that's fine. Like, if you don't want to move Amen Thompson, you're not getting Fox, and sometimes it's going to cost to get, and I would not advise trading Amen Thompson because I think he has a very high ceiling in this league. But if you can get this deal done with trading Shepherd and Cam as your 2 young pieces, you keep Jabari, you keep Green, you keep Amen. Yeah, I like this trade for Houston. I do. I know Fox isn't maybe as highly touted as like a Devin Booker, but you can add, like, you're basically creating a lineup of Fox at the 1, Green at the 2, Amen at the 3, Jabari at the 4, Şengün at the 5. That is a real foundation going forward. And you had Atari Eason off the bench, Dylan Brooks off the bench, and you still have a little bit of draft capital going forward. I do like this trade for Houston. Sacramento, I'm a little off on reading Cam as my 2 young pieces coming back in a Fox trade. Fox is like maybe your second best player this century could even be your first if they were going to move him. I mean, this trade could help them compete still, but like I don't mind them getting somebody like Fred VanVleet to Sacramento because he's still a solid piece, and obviously he's got to make the money work, and you get off of Herter's contract. But like I said, I think Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, and Houston's first this year, which is going to be bottom 5 in the first round, like doesn't really move me a lot. 2027 unprotected Suns pick could move me, but I don't think like Reed and Cam really moves me that much right now. I think I got to see more from them going forward. Indiana, this is a Miles Turner trade. So Indiana, they're proposing it for. Miles Turner going to the Lakers, which I love. We proposed this for so many years. He is a free agent at the end of the year, and I'm surprised the deal never really got done preseason. Like they extended Nembhard, they extended Miles Turner, or excuse me, sorry, they extended Pascal Siakam, not Turner. They re-signed Obi. They couldn't find a number on Miles Turner. Rui, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish, and a 2029 first going to the Pacers. If I'm the Pacers, it's Cam Christie, or wow, Jesus, I'm messing up a lot of names. It's Max Christie, or bust, or I'm getting Dalton Connect in that deal. I don't want Rui, Hayes, and Reddish. I think Rui really just provides another logjam of Siakam, Obi, and Jarris Walker. I know Hayes and Reddish might have to make the money work. 2029 first does move me from the Lakers. Like that could be a good pick, but they're going to have kind of decent cap sheet when LeBron retires to add another star. I don't really know if that moves me that much, and it's a top 5 pick. I know Miles Turner is a free agent at the end of the year, so it might not cost more than that, but I think if you want Miles Turner, you got to throw in Dalton Connect or Max Christie. I think they'd rather move Connect because of Christie's defensive upside, and if we could do Rui, Hayes, Max Christie, and the 2029 first, then I think I would do that. If I were Indiana, I would think about it at least a little bit more. As for the Lakers, if they're really serious about adding a big next to AD that could win them a title, Miles Turner is probably a lot better for this team than Walker Kessler is. It's just you got to pay him at the end of the year, which I'm sure they would do. Clippers are getting Brandon Ingram, which I kind of like. Terrence Mann, Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Tucker, and a 2031 second. I'm not sure. Can they move Terrence Mann? I'm gonna figure this out really quickly. I'm just gonna throw out Fanspo. Like, I don't know. I thought Terrence Mann signed that extension, but maybe it wasn't an extension. I forget if it was extended or he was just recently signed. Terrence Mann, I think, can be moved. Okay. Terrence Mann can be moved, which now makes this a little bit interesting. Yeah, so basically Terrence Mann, Derrick Jones Jr., and a 2031 second and PJ Tucker. I mean, this is a god-awful return for the Pelicans. I mean, I guess getting Derrick Jones Jr. is nice, but I don't want Terrence Mann's money. He's not been good this year, and he's under contract $15 million a year for the next 3 years. No, I don't want PJ Tucker. I don't want a 2031 second. I mean, if it's like a 2031 pick swap, sure. A first-round swap, I could be interested in that. But, like, I know the Clippers, what are you going to get in the offseason? Or, like, you can run the risk of him leaving. Unless he's going to Brooklyn or Detroit, you need to be the one that helps facilitate a sign and trade. And this offer, and maybe even a first, could be on the table in the offseason. I think I'd rather just keep BI than go for Mann, Jones Jr., Tucker in a second. Lakers are getting LaMelo Ball. Okay. All right. Wow. I don't think these are very realistic. I guess that wasn't the point of the article. Austin Reeves, Rui Hashimura, Max Christie, a 2029 first round pick unprotected, 2031 first unprotected, and 2 seconds for LaMelo Ball. I mean, if I'm Charlotte, I'm not doing this. I'm not trading LaMelo Ball right now. He's under contract going forward. I think next year his efficiency will get a lot better as long as you add some offensive talent around him. But this is a lot. I know Austin Reeves has been playing good. I don't really love Rui because you need to extend him at the end of next year. I like Max Christie, and I like those first-round picks unprotected for sure. But LaMelo Ball makes the Lakers pretty competitive in 29 and 31 if they have AD or somebody else around them. So I don't think they're going to be that valuable. Therefore, I mean, like, if I'm the Lakers, I'd do this trade because I do think LaMelo Ball can help you go over the hump. It's a big risk, but going from Reeves to LaMelo, I guess Reeves, Rui, and Max Christie is a lot. But they need to add some offense and defense. I don't know if they really get better defensively with this deal. I guess it's a fun idea. Memphis adding Bruce Brown and Davion Mitchell for Brandon Clark, John Conchar, 2026 second, and Luke Kennard. I like this for Memphis. I like them getting Bruce Brown and Davion Mitchell. It could help out their defense. You're not really clearing up that much depth on this team. Like, they could do like a 3-for-1. So I don't know if they should go after Bruce Brown. Like, I don't know if this trade makes them that much better. And big men are going to go down all the time. So I think trading Brandon Clark in this deal kind of hurts because I would want more big man depth. But I kind of like this trade a little bit for Toronto. Next up for the Miami Heat, this is going to be a trade that they acquire Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Gary Payton for Jimmy Butler. I mean, Jimmy Butler just got suspended again because the Heat told him that he was coming back from a suspension. And then the Heat told him that Hayward Highsmith is starting over him. So I don't know what's happening with Jimmy, man. Like, is he going to go to Phoenix? I don't think so because of the Beal no trade clause. We'll see. Golden State moving Kuminga, Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Gary Payton seems like a desperate move. I don't know if they get that much worse. Like, Jimmy's an upgrade over Wiggins, but moving on from Kuminga, I think could hurt a little bit. I don't think they're going to really lose that much in Anderson and Payton. I know it could be a little bit of depth, a little bit of defense. I mean, does Jimmy put them over the hump? The West could be wide open. And then what is your closing five in the playoffs? I would love if they could get Jimmy and Vucevic, but it's going to be impossible, really, at the deadline. Because you would have to move, what, Buddy Hield? I mean, you could probably move Buddy Hield, Kevon Mooney, and Pods to get to Vooch. And then could we do somehow, like, what, Draymond and Vucevic on the front court? Steph, Moses Moody, and Jimmy Butler? You know what? That kind of moves me. That kind of moves me. I don't know, though. I don't know. That's kind of exciting, low-key. But you're really gutting your depth and your future in those deals. But hey, you might not have to trade away any first. And you keep Moses Moody. Milwaukee Bucks, they do Jeremy Grant for Chris Middleton and a 2031 unprotected first. If Portland can get a 2031 unprotected Milwaukee Bucks first for Jeremy Grant, oh my God. I'm back in on Joe Cronin as the GM. I know you would have to pay Middleton next year, but you could buy him out pretty much. At the end of the offseason, you could buy him out if he doesn't really want to be there, but could be a very good veteran for your young core. I think this is a bad idea for Milwaukee. I know Chris Middleton isn't great, and maybe Jeremy Grant would be very good next to Giannis, and they're going to need somebody there like Lopez. Bobby Portis might not be back next year either, but a 2031 unprotected first for Jeremy Grant, oh my God. I'd rather just do Chris Middleton, Andre Jackson, and Ron Rollins and something like that and like Pat Connaughton for Zach LaVine at that point. I don't want to trade away 2031 first, unless you're getting a really, really good player back. Minnesota is acquiring Julius Randle for Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, Malachi Branham. I don't really like Julius Randle in San Antonio. I know San Antonio could use some offense around Wemby because some of their wings have had down years, but I think this is a good trade for Minnesota. I know Keldon Johnson hasn't been great, and Trey Jones and Malachi Branham either struggle with their shooting or their defense. But I mean, I guess you're getting some. I think I would do that if I were Minnesota for sure. If I'm San Antonio, I'm not doing that deal. New Orleans is getting Jonathan Isaac, Gary Harris, and a second for CJ McCollum. I think if I'm them, I would want a first-round pick for McCollum if I'm taking on Isaac's contract. I mean, Isaac's contract's kind of weird just because I don't believe it's fully guaranteed, but it does go up a decent amount. Isaac, incredible defender, but the offense is not pretty this year at all. I mean, the offense on a lot of people on the Magic isn't pretty, but it goes 15 million, 14, 14, 15. I want to say that some of those years aren't fully guaranteed, and if so, then maybe I would be interested in this because he can help out your defense, and McCollum's getting up there in age. I love this idea for Orlando, but I would maybe ask for one of their protected first-round picks going forward, or maybe take a flyer on Jett Howard. Next up, we have the New York Knicks acquiring Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, Chris Duarte, and a second for Mitchell Robinson. I hate this. I know this helps out defensively, like Craig and Carter can give you something, but I don't know, man. I like Javon Carter on the Knicks because they could use some defense, but this is the Mitchell Robinson return. I'd rather just keep Mitchell Robinson. I would. I'd rather go after some other guys on the market, like Chris Duarte, Carter, and Craig in a second. I mean, it helps out with the Knicks' depth issues, and you'd have to cut some guys like Matt Ryan. Maybe Jericho Sims gets put in this trade as well. I mean, like, what's Carter? Is Carter under contract next year? I mean, I don't really want Chris Duarte. I mean, you get a second. Yeah, he's shooting 42% from three, but he's averaging 3 points a game. He's got a $6.8 million play option he'd opt into. I mean, it gives you an option next year. OKC's getting Cam Johnson for Isaiah Joe, Dylan Jones, Ousmane Dieng, and a 2025 pick via Philadelphia, which could be a nice lottery pick going to the Thunder. I think I'd still like the Pacers pick a little bit more. I still think I'd like the upside on Aaron Nesmith and Jarris Walker. Then Isaiah Joe, Dylan Jones, Dieng in the first. I don't know, though. Dieng, like, getting an option in Brooklyn is exciting. And say you add like the 10th overall pick and it's Lee McNeely or somebody like that. That could be nice in Brooklyn as well. I think OKC should go after Cam Johnson, but it seems like they kind of want to stay pat. Orlando's getting De'Aaron Fox. Okay. Cole Anthony, KCP, first round pick this year via Denver, 2027 first, 2029 first. I mean, not really consistent here because yes, they have to give up an additional first on the Rockets one, but the main players coming back are Cole Anthony and KCP. And the Rockets deal, it cost them Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore. I think I'd like that a little bit more. I do like the idea of Orlando maybe going after Fox, and I'm sure the Kings would want Jalen Suggs and or Anthony Black. Like, they're going to hold Fox to a way higher price tag than what it's going to cost them in this fake trade. Philly gets Santi Aldama for KJ Martin and 3 seconds. Oh my God, yeah. If Philadelphia could pull that off, I would definitely do that. I would even do that if it's KJ and Gershon, because Gershon you may get priced out of because he's a 1-year deal. At least Aldama, you'd get his bird right, or you'd get his contract going forward, because actually I'm pretty sure he signed that extension with them, right? And he's like a really good floor spacer in between Paul George and Joel Embiid. Oh no, he didn't sign an extension. I don't know why I thought he did, but you can then work out an extension with him. You can go over your cap. Phoenix, 3-team trade. Bradley Beal waves it to Orlando, and they get a first in 2031 from the Suns. Miami gets KCP, Cole Anthony, 2026 and 2031 seconds. Phoenix gets Jimmy. I mean, you're trading Beal in a 2031 first, basically, for Jimmy Butler. That's so risky, the 2031 first. Orlando, you got to take on Beal's contract for the next 2 years. And I mean, it only overlaps with Apollo extension for, I believe, 1 year. So you may have to be a second apron team in 2027. But you get Beal, who helps out with your shooting and floor spacing, which you kind of need. I'd rather them go after McCollum, I think, than Bradley Beal, though. But I don't know where Jimmy's ending up. This is like something we've never seen before. Portland, Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe and Ousmane Dieng for Jeremy Grant. Oh my God, yes. I mean, OKC would never do this. Jeremy Grant goes back to OKC, where he started his career, or was it Philly? No, I think he started in Philly. And then he played very good in OKC in that final year to get that Denver contract. Or played very good, yeah, and he got that nice Detroit contract. But yeah, Wiggins, Joe, and Dieng for Grant. I would do that, yes, if I'm Portland. OKC isn't doing that trade. But I think it's always supposed to favor the team that they're proposing it for. Sacramento getting Jimmy Butler for DeMar, Herter, Lyles, and a 2028 first. I mean, if Jimmy would re-sign him like a 2-year deal, I kind of like Jimmy more than DeRozan for you in the playoffs. I do. I just don't know if Miami wants to take back DeRozan in a Jimmy trade. But they, honestly, for Miami, this is a good return, because DeRozan helps you win now. Herter, I mean, you got to eat his money for the next year, but then you get a 2028 first, which you could use. San Antonio going after De'Aaron Fox for Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, and 3 first-round picks. Then again, Atlanta's pick may be around 15 this year. 2027 and 9 first from San Antonio. They're going to be good then. I don't really value those firsts. And Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, and Malachi Branham are the names coming back. Once again, we're not staying consistent with that Rockets offer before. Raptors are, I wouldn't do that if I were Sacramento either. Toronto, Moses Moody, Kevon Mooney, and Gary Payton for Jakob Poeltl and Garrett Temple. I think I would do that. I think I would get Moses Moody in Toronto. Gives you even more wing depth. And I know Jakob Poeltl has been good this year, but you get a chance to sell high on him, and you may not get a better offer than this. I would do this if I were Toronto. Golden State, I don't think I would. I'd rather get somebody that could space the floor like Vucevic. Call me crazy. Utah, Patrick Williams and Javon Carter for John Collins. I hate this. I don't want Patrick Williams. I don't. I know he could maybe do something, but unless I was getting like a first-round pick in this deal or an exciting young player, Patrick Williams could turn into one of the worst contracts in the league. Could still somewhat hold his own defensively. But what man, averaging 9, 4, 2, 37 from the field, 35 from 3, who's making how much? 18 every year for the next 5 years. I don't want that. I'm not doing that if I'm Utah. Unless I'm getting a first-round pick, like I said. Washington gets Tim Hardaway Jr., Simone Fontecchio, and 3 seconds for Kyle Kuzma. I think Washington did lose their chance on getting a first-round pick for Kyle Kuzma. So honestly, I would probably do this. Fontecchio could be something for you. You get a little bit of cap relief, and you get 3 seconds that could end up being something. I think I would do that. And if I'm Detroit, I mean, Kuzma gets to go home as well. I believe he's from Flint, Michigan. So that could make a lot of sense because he's an upgrade over Hardaway Jr. and Fontecchio and wouldn't cost much. So yeah, I didn't realize how big some of those trades were going to be. Let me know what you guys think about these for your favorite team in the comments on YouTube. Hopefully you guys listening on audio, I explain these hopefully enough to understand it because a lot was going in and out of these trades. I'm excited for the deadline though. We're 10 days away. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.